Howdy, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of Drink While You Think. I'm Kenji.
I'm Matthew.
And it's kind of cool today, dude. I actually got to see you face to face.
I know, 6 feet away.
6 feet away or more. That was cool. It was cool hanging out like outside. Just the weather is killer right now in Atlanta, but that was awesome.
What a treat.
We got to find ways to do that more often. But we're here, and one of the interesting things I think we realized is both of us are kind of working on like little new like side hobbies.
Oh yeah, we definitely are.
Before we get into the drinking, because that'll explain some things. What's kind of going on with you? Like, share what this little new project you got going.
Well, after we built the fire pit with the neighbors, we have like 4 sets of neighbors that we have a kind of common fire pit area that we can like visit on. We decided we're getting chickens, so we have purchased 8 chickens that are they're a black variety from Australia that I would butcher the name if I try to do it, but if you they're supposed to be good at egg layers. And I'm building a 32 square foot chicken coop attached to like an open area that'll be an enclosed chicken wire area that's over 100 square feet for them to range freely like during the day. And then I'm sure the kids in the neighborhood are going to take them into their yards and stuff like that and let them hang out. But I am going to be a farmer.
I think it's awesome. How do they get delivered? Like it's in the mail, or how do they? And someone bring?
Well,
I mean,
a lot of people kind of. What we found is we kind of anticipated this. We didn't buy the chicks like everybody's buying, but what we did is we waited for somebody who bought the chicks to raise their hand and like freak out. So we're actually getting 4-week-old chicks. We're almost full grown. Evidently, they get to that time. So the other people made the mistake of buying 20 chicks, which is just crazy. We think 8's crazy. We were talking about 4, but they like had 8 left over. So we just took them all because we didn't want to go buy the chicks and then raise them. So we're buying 8 of their 20 chicks to take over into the things, because 20 is a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of chickens. 8 seems stupid, but I mean, my dad grew up on a farm. He was like, if you want 6, you got to get 8. I was like, okay, okay, we'll do that. Like, I don't know if this is true back to the in the day farm days when like there was coyotes grabbing them. I think it's pretty safe back here, but we'll see.
We'll see. By the way, I forgot to put us in our good gallery mode here, the good view. Well, it's cool. We'll have to keep us updated. We'll have to kind of take a peek as things progress.
Let's talk about your hobby. It's more fun for me.
Yeah, my hobby. Well, it fits in with what we're drinking here today. So, you and I both have, the reason I visited you and I both have here a very nondescript bottle. That is because this is my very first beer I've ever brewed myself. This is Brew batch number 1. This is what we brewed here is a, and Matthew's glad to know it. What we brewed here, this is an amber ale. This is an amber ale. Let's see if it actually has any fizz. Oh, a little bit of fizz. It's an amber ale. It's pretty basic. Matthew's is in there. I'll at least pour mine out here. We'll try it together here. But hold on. I'll at least give a little bit of. Matthew's ready for it. Look, it's fizzing. It actually looks like something real.
That looks like beer.
Looks like beer. It smells kind of beerish.
I'm going.
Going for it? All right. Cheers. Let's try the. All these things that
it's not the worst beer we've had on this thing.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I've described this flavor to other people. I said, okay, reminds me of somebody took like a Killian's Red. Like that's an old kind of amber ale. Killian's, and really watered it down, like really, really light version of the Killian's, almost seltzer-like. It's just not very. Could
you tell what was the ABV on this? Like, do you test that, or how do you do that as a brewer?
ABV on this was 4.5. And so, yeah, you basically.
It tastes watered down, though.
It is watered down, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, it's supposed to be. I don't know if we measured it correctly. we did a lot of things wrong the first time. It's like watered down. Tastes like a red ale or an amber ale that's been sitting there for a while. Like, it's not offensive. It's just not like very memorable. There's just not really much to it.
No.
And so, yeah, you do the ABV by basically you run a calculation on the change in the gravity of the liquid from start to finish. Because as it changes, what that means is as the gravity lowers as you brew and you ferment it, because the yeast is turning all the sugars in the beer into alcohol and into carbon dioxide. So it gets lighter. So you take that difference between your original gravity and your final gravity, and that'll tell you how it is. So yeah, it's
So my farm fresh eggs might taste better than this, we're saying. So we'll see.
Again, my wife said, she's like, I don't mind it. Like it's not offensive. It's just very boring in my opinion. It's like, it's not really much to it.
And you might have to stick to accounting though.
Yeah. So this is batch number 1.
Cheers, man. Congrats. That's a good hobby.
Now what I'll say we did also too here, just to kind of show, I also brought Matthew. This is what's a real amber ale. Fat Tire, the original from New Belgium Brewery. That's a real amber ale. I'm going to open that one up and just kind of,
I'm going to power through yours, and then I'm going to in a second. Yeah. I'm going to be a good supportive friend.
I'm going to do a bit of both. Now, this is kind of more of I always feel like a malty or amber ale, but.
What do you got on tap for us, dude?
It was fun. So I have some questions to ask you, and it's more PPP related, so we can't kind of get away from it. What are your thoughts on? I mean, if a business really goes through hardship, should it have any reason? I mean, not to. I mean, just very basic, yes or no. Goes through a hardship, should it be able to apply for a PPP?
Oh yeah.
If a business goes through a hardship, being able to, I mean, that's the whole point of this, right? Being able to apply for PPP. I mean,
a little bit of guidance came out saying basically if you're taking less than $2 million on the loan, on the PPP loan, you're in a safe harbor. So anybody asking for less than $2 million, I would say, if you feel like this would change your decision in hiring people.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've got some specific questions around this, right? So, okay, let's say a business owner who's under $2 million in revenue decides to says, okay,
$2 million loan.
Sorry, under a $2 million loan. Yes, thank you. Under $2 million loan request for, but also their business hasn't been operating for many months before this. Their business has already been shut down. Okay. Shut down. Is a restaurant. Liquor license has been lost. The whole business has been shut down well before all this. And they used last year's payroll. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, you're making some other representations in the PPP loan. Like you're literally, they're the uses, as I understand the PPP loan, the only reason you could use them for is for payroll, rent, and utilities.
Yeah.
So if you don't have payroll, rent, and utilities going forward, you can never use the loan or it's fraudulent, right? Well, the way I understand it is that even if you can't use that loan over the 8 weeks, you can still use those proceeds for payroll, rent, utilities, right? Yeah. So if you don't have payroll, rent, and utilities to pay for them, you would not be able to use the proceeds. You just have to leave them in the bank account, or else.
So a few more, I guess. I'll drip you a few more facts of the situation and see what you think here too. So same businesses. What about if you actually don't own that business? Is it okay for you to apply for a PPP loan?
No.
Okay. That seems like even with the $2 million loan value, that's probably.
Yeah, if it's not your business and you have no payroll, like you're already gonna shut down. You don't take the loan.
What if you? Okay, I got more. In the same situation, what if you misrepresent your own identity? You say you're someone else when you're filling out the form. Is that? I mean,
that's usually wrong. That's
usually wrong.
We usually advise against that, as we would say.
Okay. Well, let's look at the specific situation here. All right, we'll jump over. So I'm just reading out the articles. I think a guy from Rhode Island, a guy from Massachusetts, business partners. That's kind of what they were doing, right? They had all kinds of interesting things they were doing with this PPP loan. What I highlighted here, I think, is one of my favorite parts of the story. It's easy to look this up under PPP fraud. This allegedly was pulled out of an email between the two of them, where one of them saying, "Hey, I can create a BS 2020 Q1 for Oakland Beach." I guess that's the business. "These look good. I see we need payroll reports for the past 12 months." It says, "Can we get them from the last payroll? And should we dream up first quarter on the other two? Please advise. Thank you." I mean, I guess, what are our thoughts about dreaming up numbers for the PPP? I mean, that's probably not.
My thought is, like, I could come up with better fraud than other people.
Yes. Now, pretty sure those guys, it didn't get through. I don't think it ever got approved, but they still went ahead and certified, right? So they're still getting busted and certified there. So I guess our lesson learned on that one is not good to the business. Probably better. Maybe you had a business years ago. It probably better be operating at least up until this, this pandemic hit. You probably should actually claim your own business, not somebody else's, and you probably should pretend to be yourself. So, okay, we'll keep going with this theme. I've got some more examples for you.
This is real fun.
Well, it harkens back to our old background, right? We were auditors.
Yep.
And not that we were necessarily looking for fraud, but that was part of our responsibility. What about if you had a business and you said you had 250 employees, but actually you didn't have any employees at all whatsoever?
None. Okay. And you said
actually none. Actually 0 employees. Is there ever a good reason to claim that you had 250?
This is a challenging one. This is kind of like, this is one where you're gonna have to do some soul searching, probably. So yeah. I can't think of a scenario where it worked.
Yeah. Well, tell me, help me out here, because this story harkens a little bit from your kind of near your old stomping grounds. It's from I got this from the Beaumont Enterprise, Beaumont, Texas.
Oh wow.
Where, if I can scroll here, where's Beaumont, Texas? You know?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I've been to Beaumont at some point. I think it's in East Texas, but I can't remember.
It is somewhere in East Texas. But yeah, we've got unfortunately, Shashank Rai. The guy's an engineer. That's a good business. But he apparently claimed to have 250 employees earning wages when actually nobody worked for his business. And he actually applied for 2 loans from different banks. Unfortunately,
he probably got caught because he did both.
Maybe.
Probably been blown by, dumbass.
Just go through one bank. Why did you go through 2 banks? And now, unfortunately, Rai has been charged with wire fraud, bank fraud, making false statements to the SBA and to a financial institution. He was going big, though. I think he was going, 250 employees. I think he was one loan. He was trying for upwards of 10 million, and another one he's trying for 3 million. He was going big.
Go big or go home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, my last one, my favorite one. Okay, this is my favorite one.
So the 941 didn't match up there.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, the 941 did not tie out. Not a real 941 did not. All right,
I could check that.
This is my favorite one. Okay, you gotta work with me on this one a little bit.
Is this the Atlanta one?
Yeah, look at this one, right? Are you big into watches?
No.
Yeah, you and me neither, right? Look at our watches, right? Apparently this is a Rolex Presidential. It's a very nice watch. It costs around $25,000, which is mind blowing to a bunch of cheap accountants like us, right? Wow, $25,000 watch. Look at this thing.
Best practice is to not go buy.
Well, just look at these wonderful.
As soon as you get your proceeds.
Maybe. This is my other one. This is a Matthew. I know you're not a big car guy. This beautiful car you see here is a Rolls Royce. This is a Rolls Royce Wraith. It's a coupe, only 2 doors. What's really kind of cool about it, you can kind of see the door handles there a little bit. It actually, when the door was open, it opens kind of like these wings up front. Just kind of cool looking. This is baller status stuff. also really nice, right? Like if you can afford those. I don't know what your thoughts are about when you get a PPP loan, whether it's appropriate or not to go and buy a Rolex Presidential or to have a brand new Rolex Presidential Rolls-Royce Wraith with dealer tags still on them in the driveway when the feds show up. It unfortunately for, I guess he's a star. I don't know. I don't know him as well. This Love and Hip Hop. Who owns Flame Trucking. He's a star on that show. And apparently he got over 2 million. So, there's that threshold, right? His Flame Trucking.
Requested 4 million. Wow.
He requested 4. I think he got 3 or 2 something. But basically, our man here, Maurice Spain, I think he also goes by the moniker of, I think it's Arkansas Mo. Arkansas Mo. Used the PPP for some things like what we just showed you, the 2 beautiful items we showed you. I think he was paying some child support. There was some other jewelry, some diamond rings and kind of cool stuff like that. Is that allowable under the PPP? Wait,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, everybody should do that. Everybody should just go out and buy a Rolex.
I have a question. What if you claimed that your car was your office? Is there any way possible?
I've actually gotten this question. Can I use my rent on my lease for my car as the rent? No, people. Like that is just like doing the Rolls Royce thing. Come on.
You mean that can't be at your office right there? You can't go ahead and use 25% of the. Oh man.
I'm drawing the line here.
Okay, that's a bummer.
That's the line. I'm not crossing it. You just drew the line for me. So.
Everyone loves a good fraud story, but I think one of the things we saw too was there's a massive slowdown in PPP lending, starting as of last week. So first week in May.
And it's still not capped out, right?
It's still not capped out. It's unbelievable how much this has slowed down, right? To where I think we were looking at it, and the averages, once PPP came out and they started funding it, they were funding to the tune of about $34 billion per day was going out per day. Since the fraud story started coming out, and probably I think also the other part of it is lots of confusion on forgiveness. Those 2 things really started slowing down this to a trickle to where now we're only a little over 2 billion a day. So from 34 billion down to 2 billion in no time at all. I mean, just because of a few, bad apples with Rolexes and, fake business. I don't know what's going on.
What a bunch of bad data, because all the banks were saying they already had that in the backlog. Yeah. Like if they had that in the backlog, how are not all these processed? I guess they had multiple loans of multiple banks, people did, and when they came to sign the agreement, I'm sure that's probably part of it. But I thought just B of A said that they had enough to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
And talk about bad data coming out of some of these banks. It's unbelievable.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. It's wild. It'll be interesting to see kind of what happens. I mean, as we get closer and closer to forgiveness, that is the talk right now. I spent more time this past week. It's been great with a bunch of other firm and accounting firm owners. And that is all the talk. It's all around forgiveness and all the many things we're trying to figure out for people.
We ran all our trainings this week for how to do the forgiveness calculation for people and built our calculator, built our work program. So we're ready to go. So it's very exciting.
We had a really fun the other night, a kind of live fire round robin session with a bunch of other firms who are in part of accounting salon, and just went quick through a bunch of questions. We had way more than we can get to here. One of the ones that is, I think all of us were like nervous about was, it seems that most people, when they've applied for the PPP, they went and used their payroll reports, from Gusto, from whoever, and all payroll reports, this is standard for everybody, shows headcount. It doesn't show FTEs. And I think most people, when they filled out their forms, have used actual headcount, not the full-time equivalent. So, not adjusting for part-time. Whereas it's been pretty specific in the language on forgiveness that it's going to be based on FTEs. So the question became, is that going to create an issue, right? When they're going back and looking at a forgiveness calculus, asking for FTE, and trying to maybe either tie it back and look at the application. maybe they do something on the forgiveness calc to kind of adjust for that, and you go back and you show starting FTEs to average FTEs during the 8-week period or something. But I know everyone was a little nervous about that, saying, yeah, that one seems like that could create some real issues, just because most people use the payroll reports to have everything tie out just to try to get the money through on the application side. What are your thoughts about what do you think is going to happen? What should people be ready to do?
Well, I don't think they're that organized, first of all. And so when I think about it, when I think about the forgiveness calculation, everybody's going to know what a crazy thing the application was. That might be a data point people look at, but I'm not that worried about it, actually.
Really?
Whenever you do the calculation, you have to use the same methodology for the numerator and the denominator. Yeah. So we're getting refined rules. So no matter what happens, like if they leave it for a straight count, or they're going to have to define what FTE is. They haven't done that yet. So if they don't have a definition for FTE, how can we have known what it was back when we did the application? So I'm actually not that worried about it, because you're going to have to redo all your applications. And I think it's just like anything else. Like, the story has just got to hang. Like, hey guys, we were getting our application in. That's what we thought you guys wanted, was gross headcount and not FTE. If we had thought we needed FTE, we'd give you a different number back then. Here is the numerator and the denominator using the same methodology. You can't divide apples by oranges ever, right? Yeah. From a methodology perspective. So I guess I'm not as concerned as most people on that, just because. But I do have.
But you're also a very rational thinker.
I am a very rational thinker, and I think that eventually, when cooler heads prevail, like, things make sense. But I have always said, all of the scrutiny for this program is going to come at forgiveness and not getting the loans out. Absolutely. So, yes, I've always thought it was going to be more complicated to get forgiveness. So it's going to be work, and I think people are going to want to. I think people might have wanted to get the loans themselves. I think people are going to hire people to advocate for them, that work across banks on these forgiveness calculations sometimes, which is why I've spent so much time building a product. It's not something I've ever believed in before, really, is like inserting ourselves in that process. But then this one, I think we're going to add some value.
The two big takeaways I heard in talking to folks, it's been very consistent with what I think you and I and the rest of our team at Acuity's tried for, is that, one, you should be operating your business as close to ordinary business practices that you've been doing as possible, right? So anything that you start doing very weird or unusual could come under scrutiny if you have not been following that practice. And this kind of falls with everything when we talk about, should I hire, can I increase pay, can I do bonuses, can I hire on family members? And there's all these things that are kind of fun and interesting for us to debate, but like, it's been, okay, people, follow the normal course of business. And if you can show that's consistent with what your business practices have been, okay, you're probably all right. And then the second one, to your point being, there's lots of debates about the calculations, but there's going to need to be some level of consistency, right? You're going to have to focus on getting things to apples. And even if maybe the verbiage didn't say that exactly, depending on where you were looking in the CARES Act or the SBA or additional guidance, that if you follow a consistent methodology or try to put it on a consistent basis, that's probably going to be your best bet. Right. So those two things, I think, are the prevailing notion, but it's certainly interesting and fun to kind of get together and talk about all the weird kind of little, nuances that, wait a minute, it says, when I look under paragraph, 1106, it says exactly this. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. And also one thing, if you're going to do anything, if you're thinking about doing any of those odd things, bonus, hiring people you wouldn't normally hire, hazard pay, topping up, people to maximize your forgiveness, please wait till week 7 to really execute on something like that, because there are congressmen right now lobbying to get it extended to 16 weeks of payroll.
Right.
Well, then you're going to be like, don't do something you're going to regret. Like, I understand wanting to get forgiveness, but you should kind of do things that make business sense. And if you're dead set on maximizing forgiveness at 100% by spending that money, I don't know that that's what we're going to do. Right. I think we'll probably do more like let it turn into a loan and pay payroll next month with it, rather than do that. But that's just because that's what makes business sense for us. So I kind of feel like the same way, with this, is with people kind of trying to get the deductions at the end of the year, like trying to accelerate too many expenses, like buying a car December 28th because they don't want to pay taxes. You just got to be careful with that stuff.
Yeah, it's
really
always it was always of our people talk about that with taxes. Like you don't typically want to let the tax tail wag the dog, right? It's if you're going to be solely focused on doing things just to optimize just for tax, it's very likely you may be creating some issues in your business. Cutting off your nose to spite your face. Just be careful with those things. And again, especially when it comes to forgiveness, like we talked about, this is where the scrutiny is going to come in. Because getting a loan from Uncle Sam's one thing, getting free money from him, that's entirely different.
Yeah.
Well, we know we're going to have, as long as this goes on, we're going to have plenty of things to think about, talk about, drink alongside with. Where are you at with this watered down beer? I mean, it's pretty watered down, right? Oh, pretty good. Yeah, I got it down there. Yeah, remember with these at home, where I told you that you got to leave a little in the bottom. There's a little bit of sediment, probably not too much. It's not too bad on this one.
I'll just start chewing in a second. Don't worry.
It's not. This one's not too bad. The next one, I did leave you another bottle. We won't share it with the group here today. We'll crack that one open when it's ready. It's not ready. It's currently it's fully fermented, but it's not carbonated yet. It's carbonating in the bottle. So in a couple of weeks, we'll break that one out. Try that beer. See if I'm getting any better. And then I've got a third one on the way here. I haven't started brewing it yet, but I hope to receive all my materials in the next few weeks. And maybe we get on here at some point and do eggs and beer, like, scrambled eggs and beer or omelets and beer, whatever. We'll use our products. We'll do something. Yeah.
Once the chickens are in and the chicken coop is there, I might take some pictures and process for you guys, like all that fun stuff.
Got to have something here to, keep us
Pass the
excited.
time.
But let's do, there's really nothing to rate, I guess, on this one. I mean, mine's not out there. You didn't even probably crack open your Fat Tire, did you?
I'll save the Fat Tire rating for
Save
some.
it. Yeah, I've got mine.
We already rated Fat Tire, but
if I were to rate mine, it's going to be in the 2s.
Yeah, it's going to be high-sided 2s, so it doesn't mean like
high-sided 2. Yeah, I almost didn't.
It's not going to be a 3.
I will tell you this: I was super excited for when we
It was
bottled
better
these.
than the tangerine thing I had the other day.
Yeah. Well, they got a little more creative. I was really bummed because one of my visions for this was like to go around and surprise a bunch of my friends and leave them beer like on their doors. And I got this one, and I'm like, this is not good enough. We had literally picked the day we were going to go do it. Me and my son were going to do it, and we were kind of bummed out. For you, however, though, I don't mind being fully authentic. Like, now Matthew will try it. He doesn't care.
I liked it, actually. I liked it. Okay, that's drinkable.
Yeah, it's drinkable. But we're going to work on these next batches. We'll see how all this goes. But
that's not bad on sentiment side either. You did good.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Okay, we'll see. We'll test on batch number 2, and keep on coming. And got some more guests coming up in future weeks, so that'll be fun. And we'd love if you'd subscribe, jump on, reach out, ask questions. Let us know.
I got a shout out.
Oh, nice.
I got a shout out today. Congrats to the Venture Atlanta folks for making the bold decision to go virtual October 2020. So they made the call. I just like people to be bold and just make bold calls, and I appreciate that group of board members stood up and said, we're just making the call. They're not kicking the can anymore. So I'm expecting great things. So they got 6 months to plan a phenomenal, or 5 months now to plan a phenomenal virtual conference. I don't think we'll see a better venture conference just because they're going to do 5 months of planning and hit it hard. So I think that's how you have to do these things. You got to make a bold move and go with it and do it 100% versus kind of half-ass it. So congrats to the Venture Atlanta board. Good luck. We're here to help, hopefully. So
we'll leave you with that takeaway, everyone. What Matthew May says is, be bold, don't be scared.
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared.
No scaredy cat.
Well, cheers, dude. Great seeing you today. It was awesome going over there and hanging out with you for a little bit, appropriately distanced. And good seeing everybody else here. We'll see you next time on Drink Why You Think.